Divinity. Oh, you guys, this has me grinning ear to ear. I'm telling you, when I took a bite, I almost cried. It's been so long. I've had this recipe for 30 years and have never made it because I was so intimidated by it. I'm telling you, don't be intimidated. You can make it too, and you are gonna be so glad you did. Welcome back to In the Kitchen with Tabby. Let's get cooking. All right, guys, hopefully you just saw the opening segment with some beautiful divinity. That's what I'm going for. And so let's put this together. This is the first time I've ever made this. I've always been so intimidated by making it. Now, I'll tell you, my sister, Trina, she used to make this every year at the holidays. She would take part of it and color it red with food coloring and part of it green food coloring and put the little pecans on the top, and it was always so beautiful. Sometimes during the year, just at random times, she would make it and leave it white, but always with the little pecan on the top. And still to this day, it is my all-time favorite candy, but I've never made it. And I have two different recipes here. This one I printed out in 2020, so 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago. This one is written on the back of a receipt, a grocery store receipt, and the receipt is dated November 30th, 1994. So 30 years I've had this recipe and I've never made it. That ends today. See my shirt? I can do hard things, and I'm gonna make this divinity. So let's get it going, okay? And then while we're cooking, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about that, about that cash register receipt that I think you're gonna get a kick out of that. So I've got my pan here and I have my eye set on 3.5, so you don't want it too high. You want to keep it on the lower side. And I'm going to add to that 2 2/3 cups of sugar. And then we're going to add 1/2 cup of water. And 2/3 cup corn syrup. Now I'm using Karo light corn syrup, but you can use whatever brand you want. But it should be the light corn syrup, not the dark. So we're gonna get all of this out of here and we're going to start heating it up. Now you will need a candy thermometer for this, unless you choose the old-fashioned method where you take the little ball out and let it drop in some cold water and see if it forms a little ball, but I'm gonna stick with the candy thermometer method. So this is the type of candy thermometer I have. There we go, you can see. I will not put this on my pan until it starts to heat up because we're going to cook this stirring continually. We want to stir it constantly until it starts to come to a boil. And then once it starts to come to a boil, we're going to stop stirring it and we're going to put that candy thermometer on there, and it has to get to 260 degrees, 260. Now we'll have all of this on my website, inthekitchenwithtabby.com, so don't fret, don't think you've got to write everything down right now. It will all be on my website. Now, as I'm stirring, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about this receipt. This is a grocery store receipt, and I was looking through this. Actually, my husband was looking over it. He was laughing. And I just wanted to tell you, a dozen eggs in 1994, medium eggs was 69 cents. Butter, a pound of butter was $1.79. A head of lettuce was 99 cents. Miracle Whip, 32-ounce jar of Miracle Whip, $1.59. And let's see, half and half. So a carton of half and half was 65 cents. And I also bought a can opener for $1.99. I'm not sure what I needed the can opener for, but we had just moved back from Brazil at this time. We had not been back in the United States very long. So I imagine I was probably trying to get some things for my kitchen too. Let's see, some Hershey Kisses with almonds was $2.50. And a pound of bacon, hang on one second, almost dropped it. A pound of bacon was $2.79. And let's see, a 12-pack of Coke was $3.99. So there you go. Those are some of the prices from 30 years ago. And again, that's the receipt. It's from a place called Marsh. It was up in Martinsville, Indiana. I don't even know if it's still there or not. And there's the little recipe. You can see I wrote Divinity at the top and then wrote it on there. I don't know who gave me the recipe. I have no idea, but I'm glad I got it written down. And it's very similar to this one. They're both almost identical. The one calls for 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, but I'm not gonna put that in there because that's the only recipe I've ever seen with salt. I've never seen salt in Divinity before. So I'm not putting salt in my Divinity. But if you use salt and you make Divinity, tell me how it is. Does that help? Does it improve the flavor? Tell me what it does. I'm gonna back you up just a little bit. In my mixer here, I have 2 egg whites, just the white. You don't want the yolk, and you wanna make sure there is no yolk in there, kind of like the angel food cake. So 2 egg whites, and you wanna bring those to room temperature. I actually cracked these almost 2 hours ago, and they've been sitting in this bowl coming to room temperature. So I've got those 2 egg whites, and then I have a teaspoon of vanilla and 2/3 of a cup of crushed pecans. So 3 ingredients on the front end, 3 ingredients on the back end, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. You know, I've watched a lot of videos on it just in the last couple of days, trying to get my courage up. And I think we can do this, kind of like the angel food cake. I think I've been made a little bit more courageous with the angel food cake. I feel like maybe I can do a little bit harder things. We're gonna stir this, and we're just gonna keep continually stirring it until it comes to a boil. And when it gets to that point, I'll come back and I'll show it to you. I don't think you wanna sit here with me this whole time while I stir this. This is probably gonna take a little while for it to come to a boil since we're doing it on such a low heat. But as soon as it comes to that boil, I'll come back and show it to you, and then we'll take it to the next step. All right, I'll be right back. All right, guys, it has started to boil, so I'm gonna show it to you real quick. So now we wait. It's at about 220 right now, and so we're just gonna wait. I'm gonna start beating my egg whites. We wanna beat those on high until they get really stiff. We want very stiff peaks. So let's get that started. All right, our mixture is at about 240, so we're getting close. It takes a little while, and then that last little bit goes pretty quick, so you wanna kind of keep an eye on it. But I wanted to show you the egg whites so you can see how stiff that is. That is really stiff. That's what we're looking for. So I'm gonna go ahead and tap this out of here, and we are going to put our paddle attachment on. You don't want to do the next step with that whisk attachment, because the Divinity will get stuck inside of that whisk and it will be really hard to get out. So we're gonna use this paddle attachment, and I'm just gonna go ahead and put it back down in there, and we're just gonna keep waiting. So as soon as that reaches 260, I'll come back and we'll take it to the next step. Hang tight. All right, guys, we're there. So I'm gonna take my thermometer out, turn my heat off, and we're gonna turn this on. All right, we are just gonna very slowly pour this in, and when I say slowly, I mean like a thread. It has to go in super, super slow. Say a prayer, here we go. I'm thinking I should have used a bigger bowl, but we will see. So far it's staying in there. No turning back now. It is literally drizzling in like a thread. So slow. This is probably going to take a good 2 or 3 minutes to get all of this in here. And you don't have to scrape the pan or anything either. You just let it come out, whatever comes out. Getting closer. You can hear how it's getting a little bit, the machine's having to work a little bit harder. It's getting a little thicker. That's what you want. That's what it should be doing. Almost there. All right. That is it. I'm going to turn this up just a little bit higher. And we have to beat it like this until it loses its shine and it's going to hold its shape. And when we reach that point, then we're going to pour in the vanilla and the nuts, give it a quick mix, and then we got to very quickly start putting it out on our parchment paper. It is very hot. This bowl is really warm. I'm going to show you real quick what I have set up on my table. So you can see I've got my parchment paper here. I've got a little bowl with some hot water with my 2 tablespoons and my bag of pecans. So those tablespoons, you want to dip them down in that water almost like you do ice cream, just to kind of keep it coming off of those spoons easier. This could take up to 10 minutes for this to really mix and lose its shine and become a little more matte and hold its shape. So just be patient. Don't think you need to rush it. Usually 8 to 10 minutes is everything that I've heard, depending on your mixer. So it's only been a couple of minutes now. So we've still got a little ways to go before we're gonna be ready to add that vanilla and the nuts in here. So be patient. All right, here we go. So you wanna get a spoonful and then plop it off onto your paper there. And you can see how it's setting up. Looks like a little cloud. I really wasn't sure it was going to there for a little bit. It really took quite a while. But I think every mixer is different. I thought I was gonna have to turn my stand mixer off and let it cool off there for a minute because it was getting so warm. But you wanna do this pretty quick, because it will definitely start setting up in the bowl. This sure looks like I remember though. I hope it tastes like it. Like I said, my sister used to make this well, she would make it all the time, but she especially made it at the holidays. And like I said, she would color it red and green. Of course, it always came out a little pink, but technically it was still red and green. All right, I think that's about all I'm gonna get out of the bowl. All right, we're gonna put a little pecan on the top of each one now. Just kind of press that down onto the top. And then you want to let these sit and cool and kind of dry out a little bit, for lack of a better word. Usually takes a couple hours for that to happen. All right, I'm going to bring you over a little closer so you can see. I'm pretty happy with that, guys. I really am. I can't wait to let them just sit for a while, and then we'll come back and taste them. We'll see if it's everything I hope it is and what I remember. It's such a sweet memory making those with my sister. And yeah, so I'm excited. We'll let it sit for a couple hours, and then I'll be back and we'll taste them. Hang tight. All right, guys, I've waited. I've been patient. And I'll tell you, about 40 minutes in, I turned them all over like that so that the bottoms of them could dry out a little bit as well. You want it to have time to really dry out and cool off before you serve it or before you eat it. But I can't wait any longer. It's been almost 2 hours, so let's give it a taste. Thank you, Lord, for this food and for this beautiful memory. Amen. I'm trying not to cry. I have so many sweet memories of this candy with my sister, who is still living. She's still living, but she's a little bit of a black sheep of the family, so I don't see her very often. I haven't seen her in a long time, actually. But the memories I have with her making these pieces of candy, I treasure, and this is absolutely delicious. Absolutely delicious. I really, really hope you guys realize you can do hard things. Jump out of your comfort zone and make something. Don't keep a recipe for 30 years like I did before you try it. You're gonna be really glad that you made this. It is so, so good. It's light, it's fluffy. It has a melt in your mouth texture with a delicious vanilla flavor. And then those pecans. It really, really is delicious. And I really, really hope you guys make it. And when you do, make sure you post a picture and let me know and tell me how much you love it. And if you've ever had Divinity, if you make Divinity, let me know that too. I would love to know if you have any tips or tricks for making Divinity. It really, really was worth the work and the time and the effort. And I'm really glad I got out of my comfort zone and tried it. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I truly do. And I really, really thank you for coming into the kitchen with me, for spending some time with me, for sharing memories with me, for just being my friend. I really appreciate you. Listen, remember, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, make sure that you like and comment and share this video around. That really helps me a lot. But more than anything, guys, it helps inspire others to just get in the kitchen, have some fun, make something new, and make a new memory while you're at it. Remember also that Christ is the unseen guest at every single dinner table and the silent listener at every single conversation. So just make sure those words coming out of your mouth are pure and sweet like honey, that you're lifting each other up, shining your light bright, loving on each other, because that's what we're called to do. Don't forget, you can find this recipe on my website, inthekitchenwithtabbi.com, and you will find a link to the recipe on Facebook in the comments right underneath the post. And on YouTube, it will be in the description. So when you click on more underneath the video, you'll see the full description, and then you will have a link there to the recipe. All right, guys, I love you so much, but don't forget, God loves you even more than I do. Get in the kitchen, make something fun, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.